And we are here.
Our hope is that we can find an interim solution even before the permanent solution that will allow us to remove the personnel and just have warnings to signs of devices that work for a period of time. We're working on that, don't have that defined very well yet. But anyway, the notion then is to start service again on Monday. Now, because this requires this extra personnel, what we are asking for is some forgiveness, if you will, about all the service that we normally run. We've looked at the ridership counts. We know who gets on our buses when at what time of day. And as a general rule, what we found is the ridership in this section is really strong. Monday through Friday, 7 to 7. After 7 p.m., it drops off pretty precariously. Before 7, it drops off pretty precariously. Saturday, 10 to 6, and not on Sunday, just in order to sort of do, frankly, a modest, keep the level of investment at a reasonable level. If there's extra requirements to do this, we feel like it has to be for really the very most productive service. Our goal obviously wants either a more permanent interim solution that's not relying on personnel, or the permanent solution that the city engineering department comes up with is in place, obviously to return to regular services as it was 2 weeks ago.
Excuse me, by 7 a.m., does that mean the bus will be up here at 7 a.m. or does it start on the...
That's a detail I don't know.
Up there.
It would be up there at 7 a.m. It would be up here at 7 a.m.?
First one I think is 7 a.m.
Service from the bus from downtown and bus leaving for downtown at that time.
This is exactly what I was going to do, is that are the questions. Because and actually we've got some great people here who's going to answer them.
And the answers have to be louder.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
About the no service on Sunday.
Yes.
I'm concerned, and I don't know, about people who come and go from the White Shield home.
Yes.
Who I'm guessing have a different need for service than those of us who may be working downtown or what have you. Have there been any conversations with them about what their needs may be?
I think we're going to continue the conversations, and actually, you know, the bus stop is still quite a distance from the White Shield home, so I think there's other... Yeah.
I can actually speak to that. So I'm Diane Brantz, I'm the executive director of the White Shield. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you considering that. We actually do use the bus a lot. Our young ladies use it, their families use it to visit them. And my concern is that these young ladies are already marginalized a bit and isolated, and to further isolate them from their families and those visitations is really a difficult hardship for them. And so I would ask that you consider restoring some Sunday service as well as you move forward through this, because it truly, it does have a huge impact on these young ladies.
One of the things I'd like to do is see if we can find that. I described 3 periods of service: when we have spotters, when we do some temporary signage or warning devices, and then permanent. I'd like to get to that middle section as quickly as we can, and as soon as we do, all service will be restored. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Other questions that I can pose for
I guess I'm ahead of the game, but I'm curious what solutions you're thinking about for the route, the bus route, and are you considering a shorter bus?
The bus route is exactly the same as it has been. The question was, are we considering any different alternatives for the bus route? And at this point in time, we're not considering a change to the route. There are some options that we did map out earlier when we were looking at all alternatives, but the current plan is to restore service where it was before. So it would be straight up Thurman to the Gordon intersection, where the turn would be made just for the limited period of time until we get the warning devices in place. Yes?
I volunteer at the Visitor Center, and our visitors are very important to the economy of our town and our city. And I get people who want to hike in Forest Park. Is there any way we could have not every hour or whatever, but maybe a couple of runs in the morning and a couple of runs in the afternoon, which would take care of what she's asking for, and some of the people who go to church or other religious places.
Well, but recall where we are. We will look into that.
Okay.
The question would be whether or not we can use, I don't want to bring out the flaggers or spotters just for that, because I have to pay 2 mobilization. It gets pretty expensive.
Okay.
But the question is, do we have some other resources that we can use to do that? And I think that's a fair question, because it's really not about the bus service. The bus service is running, it's in the neighborhood, it's running down around Montgomery Park on the other, split end, if you will, of the 15 otherwise. So it's a matter of, can we get somebody there to monitor the traffic?
Does that mean that on Sundays, service will go from Montgomery Park, but not from Thurman?
That's what it means for that interim period.
For how long would that be?
Well, again, I've got these 3 segments of time, so as long as the first segment of time is in place. And I'm sorry, I don't think anybody's ready to be precise about what that is, because we don't have designed that lead-in period. I'm hoping it's like a week or 2.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping.
It's a couple of weeks or something, isn't
That's
it?
right. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
2 questions. I'm Ted Kay. I've lived in the neighborhood a long time. And first, I guess from my point of view, looking at the TriMet bus stop is right in my view here. So it's reminding me of how important it is that you change your decision and restoring bus service. 2 questions. The first is, do you know if the traffic engineer simply looked at stop signs on Gordon and Thurman?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And second, if the turnaround for a regular TriMet bus is unsafe and therefore illegal in the current structure, it probably is for a school bus making the same turn. Will school buses have the same opportunity to trigger whatever liking you describe?
Well, I want to make sure that we work to make sure that they do. I would tell you that the school buses aren't low-floor buses, and the low-floor buses have a broader turning radius than high-floor buses. And that's one of the things that's happened over time, obviously, as we transition to more low-floor buses, which we hope to transition entirely to low-floor buses before very long, because they're so much easier to use. But one of the bad points of it is that we have a broader turning radius. So I don't know if that's exactly the same for the school bus, but I've thought of exactly the same thing. I'll make sure the safe traffic engineer makes it for the school buses as well. And by the way, one of the reasons I felt so strongly about this, I walked up Thurman on Sunday after sort of getting back into town and saying, oh my God, what is all this? And so I walked up Thurman on Sunday and saw all these beautiful blue poles and shelters. I mean, this is a perfect transit street. It's exactly the way we want our system to look. It's exactly the kind of neighborhood we want to serve. So I think that's why at least I wanted to make sure that we got the service restored.
So to be clear, when school starts, louder please. I want to know when school starts in 2 weeks, and the high school students in that neighborhood, that's their only way to get to school. Is the bus going to run up there or not?
I don't know. I haven't.
Okay.
Are they based on the school district? Yeah.
No, the high schoolers have to take TriMet.
Oh, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7. Yes.
7 to 7, 5 to 7.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Variation on her question, I raised the point on the internet this morning. At Lincoln High School, there is a 0 period that starts at 7:15. And if any students here are high school students, I don't know if any high school parents here, if their student is going, if they take 0 period, 7 o'clock start bus might not get there in time in high school. There's a possibility that you could put a bus in at say 6:45 or 6:50 in order to accommodate that particular group, and I'm sure you would still have other riders, or non-ordinary riders, to pick that. There wouldn't be just 1 or 2 high school students on that 6:45 bus.
Well, I tell you what we'd be happy to do is work to see who would need it. I'd hate to put it in place and not have anybody ride it.
Well, as I said, there would be other people riding it. It wouldn't be just 1 or 2 high school students.
Well, I understand it's for everybody, but right now, when we look at the ridership, not very many people ride it. Matter of fact, one of the things I hope I can encourage everybody here to do is if we put this back, I want you to use this. We want we want you riding the system, and so...
So when's the first bus? Like the 30th at 7:01?
Yes.
We'll all be there, right?
I'm going back to high school, I want the 7:02.
But, Ted, we'll look at that, and we'll talk to the school district, and we'll see what it is.
So they're not really...
Yes, sir.
Just an overall comment. There's been an unfortunate tenor in the way this started, and those of us who supported TriMet's decision, because I think to castigate a public agency that's looking out for safety, maybe the way you did it wasn't correct in terms of, giving no notice, etc. I think that was a problem. But I think that was good that you did that, and I think the issue that we face with the bus, and I think you just brought it up, the last person brought it up, is that the bus during certain hours has nobody riding on it. I would venture to say many of the people who support or who are against the cessation of it, few of those people, except for a couple of people, few people in this room, even ride that bus at night. And so I'm wondering, just in terms of saving transportation costs, etc., if the ridership does drop off so significantly, let's say after 7 o'clock, is there any consideration of sustaining it permanently, or having permanent cessation of the service after 6 o'clock?
Well, we'd be happy to have that conversation. I think what I want to do is get to a position where we have a safe turnaround, where we don't have to put extra people there, return service, and then, again, my encouragement would be everybody ride it. And the more people ride it, the more likely it is to be sustained.
I think with all due respect, I don't think you're going to find the ridership go up that much. But
well,
do that as a
very good. And if it doesn't, then I think the question that you pose is a very fair one. But I would, okay, but I would just say that if we're going to change it, we're going to go through a public process to change it. So we worked with, all of our neighbors and the neighborhood associations with due notice to go through a whole process of consideration, not is it a good idea or not. Because I know there are some pros and cons.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.